My name is Richard Ferrer, and I can say I am cloud hired.
That yes, come and join and get cloud hired. I'm cloud hired.
I'm cloud hired.
I'm cloud hired.
Hey, Go Cloud Architect family. I'm cloud hired.
So, I'm cloud hired, guys.
So I'll just say I'm cloud hired.
I'm cloud hired.
I'm cloud hired thanks to Go Cloud Architects.
It worked for me, and now I'm cloud hired. Because of Google Architect program, I am cloud hired. See!
I am cloud hired. Thank you, Mike and the GlowCloud team.
Welcome, everyone. This is Michael Gibbs. I'm here joined by Alonzo Coleman, and we're here today to help you build your technology career. Maybe your goal is to become a cloud architect, or a network architect, or a security architect, or an artificial intelligence architect. Whatever the case is, we want to help you get to your goals by providing you expert guidance that comes after decades of experience and getting thousands of people hired over the years. So, you know, one of the things that I like to talk about is how to build your career, because all of us can literally do any job we ever wanted. I mean, any job we ever wanted. But people get afraid. They believe there's these rules which don't exist, which keeps people down. And I want you to all know you can do anything you want. I've got examples of perfume sales reps that are now cloud architects, mental health people that are now cloud architects, engineers who wanted to be architects for a long time and didn't know how, we've made them architects. Teachers that are now working as architects. You name it, anyone can get a job with the right skills and the right knowledge and the right other attributes that employers are looking for. So ask us your career questions so we can help you get to your goals. Before we begin answering your questions, and please bring them, Alonzo and I want to tell you about a couple of free things we have going on for you. In a little less than 4 weeks from now, we're going to have our AWS Solutions Architect Associate Bootcamp. We'll cover the complete Solutions Architect Associate curriculum, a lot of the AWS Advanced Networking in that curriculum because you need it, a lot of the AWS Advanced Security, it will also be in there, and a lot of the AI, artificial intelligence things coming out of Amazon will also be there. So you'll not only pass the Solutions Architect Associate, that's the easy thing, but you're going to also learn some things that'll be valuable for your job and your career, and it's completely free, so join us. Now, on Thursday this week, we have our How to Get Your First Cloud Architect webinar. We will cover what we do as cloud architects. We will cover those critical cloud architect skills. We will cover how to actually apply when you don't have experience and not get your resume rejected. We'll go over it all, and it'll be live on Zoom. You can ask us questions, and we'll do anything we can to help you build your cloud architect career on that webinar. Also, while we're at it, so many people want to be cloud architects, and who would blame them? It's like the best job ever. And I've been an IT architect now for 25 years. They're all honestly incredible jobs. I've got a document that we wrote on how to pass or how to get hired on your first cloud architect job, every skill you need. So join us in the free webinar, download the free book, and look forward to meeting you offline. So keep that in the back of your mind. If any of you are interviewing for AI architect programs or AI architect roles, or if any of you want to see how architects at the top actually answer questions, my good favorite David Lithicum, who is also the architect of our Generative AI Architect program, He and I did an interview, a mock interview, and released 25 interview questions today. You should go see it. This is how, he was the chief of cloud strategy, would answer roles. You've seen some videos of me doing it. So see how we respond. Because I got to tell you, it's not how good you are. It's whether you can pass the interview or not. So you got some good interview training. And again, it's completely free. So bring us your questions. Alonzo, before we begin, would you like to say anything?
Yeah, definitely, Mike. It's always great to see everyone here. I think that over the span of time that we've shared a lot of awesome resources for you free. There's been a lot of resources out there where you have to, quote unquote, pay to play to understand these roles, but we're able to give these to you for free. We want you all to succeed. We are not a boot camp based organization. We are focused on the long form, a continuous developmental process and experience for you all to be very competent and capable cloud architects, and we want to help you.
So ask us your questions. We're here free. To book a private session with me, even at what our company charges, it's 27 weeks, which is why I come and do this once a week. I've got people that have graduated our program that I've trained over the years that work at Zscaler. They work at Apple, Amazon, Cisco, IBM, Microsoft, Google, Accenture, Deloitte, KPMG, Capgemini, PricewaterhouseCoopers, Barclays Bank, JP Morgan Chase Bank, you name it. We've trained people that are working there. So ask us your questions. We want to help you. Let's get to the first question.
From Adam, I'm excited to be here. Someone recommended your channel. Welcome, Adam. What should someone interested in cloud computing roles do first in trying to break into the industry? I'm not familiar with any roles, etc.
Okay, Adam, that is an extremely good question. And you asked probably one of the most critical questions that people almost never ask. And I'm so happy you asked it. So Adam, the key is you have a desire to do something in cloud computing. The next thing that we need to determine is, what do you want to do? And pretty much I'll let you know the roles that we have at the high level, and then we can break them down into other roles. So typically speaking, we break down our roles into planning, building or doing, or sales. So planning roles are like a cloud architect. And what is a cloud architect? It's someone that's going to design the systems. It's a hybrid executive role. That's a planning role. And for that, you're going to need to train in planning, and we'll talk about that in a minute. There are doing roles, like a cloud engineer or a DevOps engineer, for example. They are doing roles. They're all about your hands-on skills, not your planning. So there's that. And then there's actually, sales roles, which is selling the solution, like a technical account manager, an account executive, what have you. Now, there are still other roles, Adam. For example, the cloud is really nothing more than someone else's data center. That's it. You're renting space in someone else's data center. So every one of the same jobs that existed in the data center still exist in the cloud. We need software developers to write code. We need network engineers to build out the networks. We need network architects who are, again, the planning position to design the networks. We need database administrators to administer databases. We need systems administrators to administer the systems. You name it, all those same roles exist. So Adam, do you want to move into a planning role? Or do you want to move into a doing role? Or do you want to move into a sales role? And I'll tell you why. If your desire is to become, say, an architect, and I think the architect is the best job, it's the one job out there that and sales that cannot be replaced by AI. It is also the highest paying of all the jobs, architecture and sales. They pay far more than doing roles, because planners typically get paid more than doers, and leaders typically get paid more than the workers, and the architect is a leader and a planner. These are the skills you need. You will need to be able to understand all of the network and data center technology, because what are you going to do as an architect? Take some of the things out of the network and data center, move them to the cloud, take some stuff out of the public cloud, pop it into a private cloud, take those mistakes where people used a single cloud early and move them to a multi-cloud environment like we do now, like 98% of the organizations do. So there's that. That is a planning role. Now, what do you need to be a great architect? You need good leadership skills. Why? Because we architects design an architecture team, and that team goes and designs the architecture. We take the leadership role, we present it back to the clients, we communicate to the C-suite. So It's very executive role, and you're going to need good leadership skills to be an architect, and without them, you won't get hired. So if you want to be an architect, which is a planner, there's that. Now, I'm actually going to give you a doer role. I'll cover the cloud engineer after we're done the cloud architect and put it into context for you. So the cloud architect needs leadership skills. As architects, we have to give presentations almost every day. So the cloud architect needs good, strong presentation skills and the ability to influence others. A cloud architect needs to sell. Why sell? Because whether you're a post-sales architect or a pre-sales architect, you're going to be coming up with architectures that are hundreds of millions of dollars. You're going to have to know how to sell them to the leadership. Now, if you want to be an architect, you need to know how to communicate, walk, talk, and live like you're in the C-suite, because that's what we do. We communicate with the C-suite to find the goals of their business, their strategy, what have you. And of course, we sell to the C-suite, so you're going to need something called CXO relevance. Now, you're also going to need some training in something called executive presence. Executive presence is when you walk in and you command the room. You can see it. Somebody walks in the room and everybody gets quiet because the leader's in. Even if you don't even know they're the leader, you know they're the leader. So you're going to need executive presence. Now, to be an architect, you don't build anything. We don't code. We don't configure. We don't touch the tech. So you don't need to code, which is where a lot of people go wrong. They start learning to code and then they want to be an architect, and it's not helpful at all. We don't do DevOps either. So what do we need to know? We need to know about the underlying technology, all of it. The networking technology, the data center technology, the security technology. We have to understand it. And the cloud is just subsets of that technology. So we need to understand how servers work, for example, and the CPUs and the hypervisors and the DRAM and the storage, how that stuff works, not how to configure the commands. It's different. You will never learn how it works by configuring commands. You're going to need to learn how the stuff works. How the storage area networks work. You know, how do you work with block storage, which is really slow compared to, even though they say it's fast in a certification, it's really slow. How do you work with object storage? How do you work with file storage? How do you work around the weaknesses in block storage with things like NetApp, where it's we're using NetApp actually creates a way to use Amazon, say FSx for Lustre, to give you good performance. Or are you using RAID? What are you doing? How are you working around the cloud security problem? What kind of networking do you need? The networking to connect you to the cloud, the routing protocols that connect you to the cloud, and all the networking in the cloud. You need to know it, how it works, and how to put the pieces together. You need to understand containers, which is another form of virtualization, how they're orchestrated, where to use them, when to use them. Load balancers, how to use them, how to architect them, how to design them. When you need 2 and 3 levels of load balancers, for example, you need to keep these kinds of things in the back of your mind, because this is the kind of stuff that we need to know. How to design demilitarized zones, how to create an end-to-end encryption strategy, how to secure your systems, when to use next-generation firewalls, IDS, IPS systems. All of this at the planning stage. So planning is how something works. There are architecture skills. Now, let's say we wanted to be a cloud engineer by comparison. The cloud engineer is a doer. They're not going to spend 70% of their time doing all those business skills that I talked about. They're going to be focused on the tech all day, every day, because the engineer is a builder. So while an architect can show the world they're great with writing thought leadership document and giving industry presentations and building business cases and designing architectures, the engineer has to build stuff and show the world they build it. You want to be an architect and you show someone your collection of things that they build, and a manager's going to laugh at you and say, "That's great. I want an architect. Now can you show me your designs?" But you want to be a cloud engineer, now you got to build, and you're going to have to show people building too. So for the cloud engineer, it's less about how the stuff works, although you still need to know that. But it's more about, how do I put it together? How do I build it? Engineers are builders. Architects don't touch the technology. They're not allowed to in most companies. So if you're going to be the engineer, you're going to have to understand how to be real familiar with Amazon and Google and Azure's command lines and management consoles, because 98% are multi-cloud. If you're an engineer, not an architect, but a cloud engineer, you're going to have to be very proficient in Linux, because most of the servers you're going to be working with are Linux, and you're going to have to be administering Linux. If you're a cloud engineer, you're going to need to automate, right? You're going to have to get stuff done. So if you're a cloud engineer, you're going to need to write Python scripts, Bash shell scripts, Windows PowerShell scripts. If you're a cloud engineer, you're going to be dealing with infrastructure as code. So pretty much that means Terraform in today's world. It could mean CloudFormation, Azure Bicep, that kind of thing, but it's usually Terraform because in a multi-cloud world, people use multi-cloud tools. Now, for the cloud engineer, they're going to be building stuff on Windows too, which means hands-on knowledge on Active Directory, hands-on knowledge administering Windows systems. And an engineer is going to need a collection of portfolio of projects they built along the way to show what they know. So you can see for the architect, we're doing the planning things, and for the engineer, we're doing the self. So Adam, 1, 2, 3, the questions I have for you are, what do you like to do? Do you want to go out there and meet people? Do you want to go out there and solve your customers' problems and learn about their problems and solve it? Communicate, lead, entertain your clients, take them to lunches, dinners, drinks, that kind of thing on the company dime? That's the architect role. Do you want to be behind a desk all day and working on the technology? Then you want to be an engineer. But what do you find interesting? Do you find security interesting? Because I promise you there's 3 options there. Do you find networking interesting? I can find you a lot of options there. Do you find big data interesting? I can find you a lot of options there. You want to learn AI? I can help you there as well. But the key is to find out what you want to do. Because you can do anything. The world really is your oyster. But you got to know what you want to do. Because let's say you spent 3 years learning cloud engineering. You have to start almost from scratch to become a cloud architect. And I'll tell you, I've worked with really great cloud engineers with 10 years experience. And it takes me about 8 months to train them and get them hired to be an architect. I've also trained mental health techs and waiters and waitresses and perfume sales reps that have also gotten hired as architects in the same 8 months because it's a different job. Now, there could be sales roles you could be interested. If you want that, I'll happily give you that. So Adam, please ask more. I really want to help you.
From Tin Man, great video earlier today, Mike. What would you say are the biggest mistakes people make during the interview process?
Tin Man, what a great question. So let me give you an answer of what hiring managers want. Because if you know what the hiring manager wants and you can address their needs, you're going to get hired. If you can't address their needs, you will not. So I'll tell you what they want, and then I'll tell you the mistakes people make. Here's what a hiring manager wants. Someone that can do the job and do it well. The manager has work that needs to be done. They hire for someone that has work to be done. If I want to hire an airplane pilot, I don't care if you're an airline mechanic. I don't care if you spent 20 years as a flight attendant. I care if you're a good airplane pilot. So competency in the job you're applying to and not someone else's job. I'm saying this because 99% of the people I've interviewed in my career tried to learn 15 people's careers. They didn't know any of them well, and they were constantly getting laid off, and I couldn't hire them. And I wanted to because they were good people. The next thing is your communication skills, Tin Man. Employers want to know you can communicate well, especially in architect roles, because if you can't communicate, you're not going to get the right information, and the architecture will fail. But I'm not going to ever hire someone with bad communication skills because they're going to make errors. And they're going to cause conflict in the team. So good communication skills. The other thing employers want is someone they can trust, Tin Man. No one expects you to know everything, but I've interviewed 6,000 people. 5,950 people, more than that, lied to me. I can tell you how many people I hired out of the liars. 0. You can't marry someone you don't trust, and you can't hire someone they don't trust. So after that, employers want energy, enthusiasm, and passion for the work. Then they want people that are emotionally intelligent. Then they want great team players, and they want people that are willing to go above and beyond. So if I ask someone to tell me about themselves, and they're applying for an architect role, and they're telling me about their software development, and they're telling me about their Python, and they're telling me about their Bash shell scripting, I'm going to say, thank you very much. It was nice to meet you. Let me see if there's any cloud engineering positions there. And the reason is, if I want a good architect and they're telling me about their engineering, I don't see them as an architect. If the airplane pilot started handing out drinks on the airplane and put on a flight attendant's uniform, you would no longer see them as the pilot, even if they're good at it. So there's that. The next thing is, the only way we know if someone's competent, if we can hire someone, is we ask them questions and can they explain it to me? Can they explain it? Tell me what the tech is, how the tech works, why the company should use the tech. 99% of the people at the time when I ask people to explain technology, they can't explain it. And my assumption in every hiring manager is if you can't explain it, you don't know it. It could be poor communication skills, but generally speaking, if you know something well enough, you can explain it simply. Now, the third one is lies. Here's the biggest problem I see. Somebody went out there and told people use ChatGPT to match your resume to a job description, or put down all this stuff that you don't know because that's the way you pass the resume scanner. So here's what happens, Tin Man. When I look at a resume, when a hiring manager looks at a resume, they look for the thing on your resume that looks the most impressive. And they're going to ask you a question on it. And if you can't answer it and you put it on your resume, interview is over. Why? You put false advertising there. You don't know what you're advertising. You're a liar. They can't hire you. So that's 50% of the time. The other 50% of the people that lie is the following. We ask a client a question. We're trying to interview them. We want to bring them in. And we know the answer to the questions we're going to ask because we wouldn't ask them otherwise. And I ask someone explain this to me, and they just make it up. Like I'm stupid enough to ask a question that I don't know the answer to me. And they make it up, which is insulting to my intelligence as a hiring manager, and it shows me I can't trust them. That's this huge X that says don't hire and never interview again. The person's untrustworthy. They're a liar. Sadly, most of the interviews I've done, one of these two things happens. And it ends right there because you can't hire someone you don't trust. Now, the next thing is people just, they come and they're like, hi, yeah, okay. And they'll answer a question. Ask them, yeah, this is a good thing. And they've got no energy, enthusiasm, or passion. And if you were going to hire someone to paint your house, would you go, hire this person? I love to paint. Here's some samples of my work. Look at what I can do. Look at all these details. Would you hire this person? Or, yeah, I'm a painter. I've been doing it a while. You hire the person that's excited about it because you know the person that's not happy about their job anymore, doesn't like it. They won't be motivated. They're not going to work overtime when needed. They're not going to learn and excel. So that's the next big one. The next one is when you interview someone, ask them questions. Yeah, what's the work-life balance here? Is it going to be easy today here? Do people work hard? They're looking for people that go above and beyond. So if you show any question as to show you're not willing to work hard, you're there. And the next thing is about your being a team player. Do you describe I? Do you talk about things in the we, the more the royal we, if you will, but still the we? Are you showing you're part of something that you want to bring out the best in others and create and develop? Or are you showing the world's around you and do you look selfish on that interview? They're the biggest mistakes that I typically see, and I see them all the time. I mean, all the time. And every time I see it, it saddens me. And it saddens me because they're good people that could have, honestly speaking, really wonderful jobs if they would just be honest and authentic. So, keep that in the back of your mind. If you are honest and authentic with what you do, you will be wonderful, 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 and do great. But if they can't hear these, if that's not what's coming out on an interview, it's going to be very hard to hire you. So please, be yourself. Know what you know what you don't know. Answer questions you don't know honestly. Point them to your strengths instead. You're going to have much better interviews. And they're the biggest ones that I've seen over the years as being problematic.
Back to Cloud Doctor. Hello, everyone. Great to be back here, and welcome back, Cloud Doctor. What skills do you find most critical in your role as a cloud architect? Also, how do you keep your skills up to date, Mike, with the rapid evolving cloud technologies?
So, Cloud Doctor, it's a great question that you asked. The most critical skills for the architect. If you've asked architects that have made it to the top, principal architect, distinguished architect, chief architect, they're all going to tell you the same things. And what you think are the best skills to be an architect, Cloud Doctor, I promise you, are not. So, David Lithicum was speaking to some of our community today, and we were discussing the concepts of interviews, and it was a really good discussion. And, what he said to my community is the same thing that I've always done. Your best skill as an architect is your communication skills and your leadership, most critical. And here's the reason why. I'm gonna propose two architectures. Alonzo looks like a business guy. He's a business guy. He's our chief marketing officer, but now he's the chief information officer. Alonzo, I designed this solution for you. I put in 500 hours myself. It's got all of my 25 years experience, and I know it's going to work for you. Read his body language. Does he look impressed? He doesn't. And why? Because no business is going to spend hundreds of millions of dollars one architect to design their system. Watch the comparison. Alonzo, thank you for the opportunity to work with you. After speaking with you, I spoke to the rest of your C-suite. I spoke to your key stakeholders, as well as some people on the front lines and your customers. While I was doing that, I was leading a team of 50 of some of the best architects I could find from all over the world. We brought in some business people. They delved into your finances. We brought in some data scientists to see what you can do, some AI architects, some security architects, some cloud architects, some network architects. And we've got some solutions for you that we truly believe will decrease your operational costs by 10%, improve your employee productivity by 22%, and I'll do this for only $150 million. He's excited. He's happy. So that's the key. The key to remember is it is a team sport and you are the leader. Now, having said that, you still need to know the technology, but it's more about, can you build a good team? Now, I got to tell you, early in my career, I'll call him D, because I don't want to mention his real name. D was probably one of the best architects I've ever met. He actually taught me a lot about architecture. It was in my early days as a technical architect, which is more of an engineer than an architect. And I had my CCIE and all these other fancy certifications. And D was constantly calling me to help out with, certain architectures, because he didn't really know the technology that well. Well, let me tell you, he brought in me, he brought in MPLS experts, OSPX experts, QoS experts, video experts. And by the time Daryl was done with his architectures, they were some of the best I've ever seen in my entire life. They always worked. They were simple, they were smooth, they were elegant. He had really good business skills. And I remember when I called him and I said, Daryl, what's your secret? He says, Mike, he says, I'm an architect. He says, I'm not trying to engineer it. I'm not trying to do it all myself. It's about bringing in the best of everyone else. He said, you need more business. I don't care if you're less technical, you'll be an architect, better architect. He was really right. And that is the key, that you need to be able to build the team and remember your role. Now, how do you keep up to date? It is pretty easy. Things barely change in technology. Cloud Doctor, I've been working on AI systems since the year 2000. I've been working with cloud since 1993, whether it was an ISDN cloud or a frame relay cloud or an ATM cloud or a BTP cloud or a VPOS cloud or today's clouds. I've either consulted the organizations on how to design their clouds or been working with them. And guess what? None of it's new. IBM invented virtualization in the 1970s. Cloud computing is virtual systems. VMware invented the hypervisor in 1999, which is the basis of what you use in any cloud environment, whether it's an EC2 instance, Azure Virtual Machine, Google Compute Engine instance. It's the same hypervisor type that we've dealt with for the last 25 years. Guess what? Storage. It's the same storage area networks for the last 30 years. Block storage, object storage, file storage. It's the same RAID. It's the same VLANs, VLAN tagging, VLAN trunking, BGP, for example, firewalls, demilitarized zone, encryption. All that's really the same. What's changed is the speed. So here's the secret to always be up to date, Cloud Doctor. Don't focus on learning any vendor's platform so much as you learn the technology itself. If you know how to fly an airplane and you've flown 50 different planes, you can fly a plane. And you get to a new one and okay, here's this button, but you can still fly the plane because you're a good pilot. If you learn a bunch of silly AWS, Azure, or Google names, and you don't learn the underlying technology and how it works, you'll always be lost because you're never going to know what it is. But when you truly know the technology, you'll see that almost nothing really changes. The speed changes, what the speed enables has changed, but honestly, like Cisco NetFlow in 2000 is very similar to AWS VPC flow logs later. In 1998, I put IPsec over a private line. Last year, Amazon, guess what? We now allow IPsec over a private line. Big news. It was big news in 1998. It's the cloud's still catching up to what we used to do many years ago. So that's the key. You need really good fundamentals. And an expert is really just a master of the fundamentals. You can't learn everything. But if you focus on your career and you become great at your career and you have deep knowledge on everything, it's the same as a physician. They come up with a new drug and they say, what family of drugs is it? And they say it's an ACE inhibitor or a beta blocker. And it's okay. I know how an ACE inhibitor works. Okay. Now all I need to know is this drug does it 26% better. Okay. And this drug has these side effects that the other one doesn't. Okay. Now I can prescribe it. It's the same way because strong fundamentals, deep knowledge. When you know that, you have absolutely everything. And any new change will be incremental. It'll be so simple to learn. Kind of like, when you first get married or you're in college and you get a little inexpensive car. And then years later, you can afford your big, comfortable car. You're driving one car, you're driving another car. Doesn't matter. You know how to do it because you know how to drive.
Well, if anyone has any questions, yeah, definitely. We love your questions. Please ask them. We're here for you. Dingleman, hey, Mike, how do you deal with conflict in a way where you are level-headed, but you don't look weak?
Okay, Dingleman, that's a great question. So for me, I train for conflict. I mean, I did approximately 30 years of martial arts. That is preparing for conflict. And I love martial arts, and yet I don't think I've ever been in a fight in my adult life, and I don't think I ever will. So here's the key. If you know you're good, and you know you're capable, and you know you're right, you don't necessarily need to reduce yourself to someone else's level. If you can control your mind, you can almost always have a good response to people. Because you have to understand that anybody can be right based upon their frame of reference. And the more you know, the more you'll be more likely to be right and the other person will be wrong if they don't know as much as you. I had a physics professor, and she had this thing hanging on the wall that said, education is an ever-decreasing number of lies. And I saw that thing, and to me, it hit a chord. But I said, could you explain this to me? I want to make sure I get it in your words. And she said, look, Mike. She said, at the intro level, we practically have to lie to you because we have to oversimplify things. And she said, the more you know, the more you can think your way through it, the better way you'll be able to solve a problem. And she said, that's why for people that are highly educated and highly intelligent, they often don't get understood by other people because they don't have their advanced level of thinking, they don't have their vantage point, and they don't have their same frame of reference. So there is that. You take two people, you put them in the same schools, same experiences, chances are they're going to see it the same way. You take two people, one's had one experience, one's had another experience. Those experiences also change things. So Dingleman, for me, the first thing is to be empathetic. I have to see things from the other person's perspective. If I was them, what would I say? What would I think? What would I do? And if you would do the same thing in that situation, now you got a bridge and you know exactly how to respond and put it into things their way. So I bet you at least 50% of the time when you have a conflict, if you looked at it from their perspective, you'd probably feel the same way. So now you just need to politely and objectively, in a very common way, show them why you're right or why it's in the best interest of the client. The second thing is if people can't steal your breathing, they can't steal your peace. In addition to my 30 years of martial arts, I don't talk about it that much, but I'm actually a yoga instructor. I don't really teach any classes. I use it for some specific clients that I'm working on, teaching levels of breathing and emotional control. That helps me dramatically. Look, I was trained in some very terrifying martial arts. I loved it. You can't train someone in martial arts without teaching them to be calm so they don't make mistakes, because you don't want to train a martial artist or a warrior and then not teach them how to control their mind so that every time somebody cuts them off in traffic, there's a trail of dead bodies. You don't want to do that. So when you train your warriors, you train them to be calm and gentle, especially martial artists, because martial arts is not about beating each other up. It's about controlling your mind, your body, your movement, that sort of thing. So there's that. And the second thing is I just really try to communicate in an empathetic manner. And, you know, sometimes the strongest people are the ones that choose not to fight and choose not to conflict. I got to tell you this. There's this saying in the martial arts community. When somebody goes to a bar and this guy says, I'm going to beat you up, you don't have to worry about him. You really don't. It's when the person says, please, I don't want to fight. Back off now. Let it go. I didn't mean to offend you. That's the person you should be terrified of, because that's the person who's trained to control their mind and their body. So same thing. Be nice until it's not nice. It's time not to be nice, like they say in the movie The Roadhouse with Patrick Swayze. And look at things from another person's perspective. Control your mind, control your thinking, and try to see it their way. And then how to communicate it to them in a manner that they would understand, that they would connect to. You do that, most of the time you won't have problems. I don't have problems with anybody, despite what people say to me, because of those reasons.
Back to Cloud Doctor. How do you collaborate with other teams in the organization? What role do architects play in the decision-making process related to cloud strategy?
So Cloud Doctor, you will always have to collaborate with other teams. So it depends on which client side you're talking about, client side or company side. So assuming you don't work for the company where you're actually working as an architect, and even if you do, it'll be very similar. Let's say you're someone from like me that would come from a Cisco or an IBM or a Microsoft perspective. Inside of our organization, we're going to have experts. So look at it this way. There will be a team of people at Amazon that are experts on Cloud Hub. There'll be a whole team of people that just work on Cloud Hub. And that little mini team, and they'll have technical marketing engineers and architects, will know that product better than anybody else. They'll know where it's going to break. They'll know where it's not. So let's say you're an architect working at Amazon. You're going to need to go to that Cloud Hub team. You're also probably going to need to go to some other team and another team and another team. So you're going to build your team of professionals around the organization, build your subject matter experts, and work with them, lead them until the solution is designed. But you're also going to have to go collaborate with your client. Who sets the strategy for the organization? The C-suite. So you're going to have to go to that client. Does the C-suite have any knowledge of their technology? Absolutely not, except for maybe the CIO, but that's going to be at an executive level. So now you're going to have to deal with other teams. You're going to have to deal with key stakeholders, department heads, division managers, business unit managers, and or CEOs, which are not the same CEO as the company. You will also have to work with the people that do the work in the client, because they know what certain things better than the leadership does. And you're going to have to go everywhere. You're even going to have to talk to the engineers to learn stuff from them at the client site. So you have to learn how to communicate to different audiences, to address people and the things they care about. For example, if I talk about, spanning tree to a CEO, I'll be escorted out of a room by security. I'll be fired from my company, and somebody else will thank me for the nice job that they just received. By comparison, if I talk to the CEO about improving their financial performance or increasing their revenue or decreases their operating expenses, now we're having a real good conversation. But if I had that same conversation with the head DevOps engineer for that organization, they're going to want to hear about our DevOps tools, our codes, whatever, the stuff that they work with. And so you have to be relevant. So you collaborate by finding what matters to people and communicating about those things. Now, what role do architects play on the decision-making process? They are the cloud strategists. The cloud architect creates the cloud strategy. Again, we don't build it. This is a planning role. We create the strategy. So we have to basically, here's how it works, Cloud Doctor. We have to go to the client's executives and learn the vision for the business. Assuming we're a good architect, we do this. And next thing we need to understand is how the business operates. What are the business processes? What's the business architecture look like? And then after that, We need to think about what that business architecture needs to be like to go meet those future needs they have. Then we have to evaluate the organization's data, its technology, its networking, its data center, all of it. See what they have. And then we need to think about what types of technology and processes will be needed to meet the new business processes and the new business goals. And we have to work with the client to help do that. Now, once we know what all those things are, the next thing we need to do is build our architecture team. Now that we've got the requirements and we're in the design phase, we got to build a team, lead a team to create the design. We then have to document the design. We then need to present that design to key stakeholders, get their input. When we finally get to the point where it's frozen and people want it, we have to create a statement of work. We got to go sell the thing, negotiate the thing with the leadership. We're also going to create a team of governance, probably work with the organization on how to create a change management strategy. And then we're off to a new client as architects because we're not there for the build phase. So all we are is strategists. And that's why it's a job that pays so much, because most people don't know strategy. Most people can't combine technical expertise with business expertise and do it at an executive level. That's why the architect makes so much. That's why the average cloud architect pays about $2.25 a year. And I know plenty of architects in that $500,000 to $1 million a year range, those that are really good at business. Hope I answered your question there, Cloud Doctor.
So if you do have any questions, we're here for you again. We want to make sure that you all have all the tools you need and all the resources you have. If you have any questions, we're here for you. Please fire away. We're here. Cloud Doctor again. You mentioned tools, Mike. What are the primary tools and technologies you use in cloud architecture? Are there any you recommend for anyone learning the field?
Cloud Doctor, I said DevOps engineers use DevOps tools. Here's the tools I use as an architect. I communicate with people. My presentation skills are my tool. My leadership skills are my skill. Are my tools. My ability to sell $1 billion architecture to a client are my skills. My ability to negotiate with key stakeholders is a tool. I do use Microsoft Word every day because we're writing large things. Microsoft PowerPoint is a tool that I use to create presentations. I use Microsoft PowerPoint personally for all of my architecture diagrams, and then I give them to a graphic artist who creates them in InDesign, because that's what you do at an executive architect level. But if I was a new architect, I'd be working with things like Microsoft Visio used to be, or Lucidchart, or Draw.io to draw pictures, or PowerPoint. Excel spreadsheets to calculate things. Email, I use all the time. Text message, I use all the time. And I actually take pictures of things too, and I use that as a tool as well. Being an architect, Cloud Doctor, is not about tools. It's about system design. We're not construction workers. We're not builders. And that's why when you had asked it, I said, well, these are architect skills. Now, DevOps engineers use tools because they've got their tools like Jenkins, Spinnaker, all those other tools that they use. Engineers use tools. Architects are executives. And that's why so many people go wrong. They go and learn a tool like CloudFormation or Terraform, which is an engineer's job. And they don't learn the skills, which is how do you show a customer that their $1 billion architecture is going to make money for them? The return on investment capital that they're going to receive. How it's going to increase their revenue, decrease their operating expenses, improve employee productivity, which can translate to what? That's why architect tools are things like Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, and Excel. Engineers use tools to do something. Python can be a tool for an engineer. Architects don't code. Architects don't touch the technology. So that's really the key to remember.
Cam, how do we collaborate with other teams? For example, development, operations, and security, Mike.
May I speak to the Chief Information Security Officer? This is Mike Gibbs calling from Cisco. Just like that. You schedule a meeting. So all of this stuff is there. So how do you collaborate with a team? Let's say Alonzo's my customer. I give Alonzo a call if I know him. Alonzo, it's Mike Gibbs. Alonzo, I know your company's looking for a new architecture. We've worked together in the past. Would you be comfortable meeting with me?
Absolutely, Mike.
Okay, Alonzo, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in a sales rep and a good engineer. let's just have a simple conversation. I'd like to learn what your goals are. Okay, we have a
Yeah,
good conversation.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we had a good conversation. You know, Alonzo, I truly believe there's some things we can do in your security. How would you feel if I had some of my security architects reach out to the security team on yours, learn a little bit more about their needs?
I would love to see that, Mike.
Okay, and then I schedule it. I bring some experts with me on security, even though one could argue I'm a security expert, which I am. But if I'm playing the generic architect, I can't be the security person or the networking person, even though that's my background. Poof, I do that. Now, when I'm there, I take Alonzo's team to lunch. I probably take them for drinks. We start building a relationship. I come and visit. A week later, I bring things, and I bring in my engineers, and I keep them there. Operations people doing the same thing. Development people doing the same thing. Now I've got some development. Guess what I do? I need 10 developers. I go to the VP of software development or the SVP, and I tell this person I'm working on an opportunity that has $186 million potential revenue for our organization. I believe with a 60% confidence interval that I can close this deal, which means that it's worth 60% of whatever that I said it is. There's an opportunity to the business. In order to make this happen, I'm going to need 5 really good software engineers. Are you able to help me with this, or do I need to go to the C-suite to? Are you able to help me with this, getting some resources? And you start hiring an executive so they can make a decision. I'm happy to, and you tell that person, I'm happy to provide any necessary documentation you may need for management. The confidence interval, the expected value of this opportunity to us, other opportunities we've closed with these people, and similar organizations we've done. You get your resources. And then you treat everybody on that team well. You treat them with respect. You get them to their goals, that type of thing. But that's how you build and lead your teams. And that's a great question, Cam. It really, really is. And that's really our job.
So it looks like that might be our last question. We're, again, here for you to answer any of your development questions and your career questions to becoming a cloud architect, whether it be a network, security, generalist, or anything, especially our newly introduced Generative AI Architect program. We're here to answer any questions you have available.
And so if you've got any questions, give it a shot. While we wait to see if there's any questions, otherwise Alonzo and I are going to get back to our really chaotic day, but I try to make some time. And people send me messages every day that says, can you help me? And I try to come online at least once or twice a week for this reason. Because I hate to schedule people for 27 weeks in advance for what we charge for private sessions. And if sometimes it makes sense. A job interview, you're looking for this new job that's going to give you a $200,000 raise, but you're looking for strategy to improve your career, and that makes sense. But for simple questions, I just love to do them online and free. So ask your questions if you have them. Otherwise, join us on Thursday for the How to Get Your First Cloud Architect Job webinar. And while you're at it, download the completely free How to Get Your First Architect Job guidebook. I want you to get both. Read it, come to the webinar. We'll go over the role in the webinar. We'll talk about the skills you need, how to get hired, how to bypass HR so you don't get auto-rejected, because being auto-rejected is no fun. And the other thing is we're going to do some free AWS certification training in a couple of weeks. And it is a big program we're going to run. We took our last boot camp. We added about 1,500 more slides to it. And we have the team that created a lot of labs for people to do along the way. And not only does it cover the solution architect associate, some of the professionals, some of the advanced networking, some of the advanced security, and even AI stuff, because we wanted to make it meaningful for you. So sign up. It's completely free. Okay, so I did not see any questions. So Alonzo and I are going to get back to work because we both have crazy schedules. We just like to come out there and help people. So it was wonderful seeing you, and I'll see you all very soon. Take care.